So a few weeks ago, the good people at One Little Independent Records set up a crossfire-style interview between myself and Luke Mum No Computer, aka Sam Battle. I doubt he needs much of an introduction. He makes really ambitious music machines. He's got his own museum. He's prolific at posting videos about the machines he makes, the processes. And I think my favourite thing about him is how generous he is with his knowledge. So if you watch his videos, you always come away feeling like you've maybe learned something or certainly been inspired to make something yourself. Sam and his partner Mel came to visit my house in the summer, and Sam made a video about it. So I'll link to that, and I'll link to his museum as well. But without further ado, let's just get into it and see what we got up to during our tete-a-tete.
Recording in progress. I managed to. They're obviously to roll with. Did you get some as well, Ziggy?
I've got some for you, but I've also got a couple of things I could show you that I'm working on. If that was a nice way to get the juices flowing.
That's a good one to get it flowing. That'll work.
Okay.
And
right.
also check this suit, Sam. This just arrived today, appropriately enough. The Lincoln Green Dickies boiler suit.
You've gone for the nice ones. That's the best color of them.
I quite like it. It's old school.
I've struggled to find that color recently. So you've
Yeah, it's in just now. The grey one. I really like the grey one, but my grey one is completely kaput. Like it's got holes all over it, so I've had to give up on it. But yeah, you can't get the grey one anymore. So Lincoln Green it is.
Lincoln Green, it's the one. We're gonna geek out about overalls. They're definitely the best type of overalls, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah,
those grey ones lasted me about half a house build.
Oh yeah. I like how you count your time in house build.
Yeah.
Was that?
Yeah.
How long is it? So you built the house? Oh no, you didn't. Because you've told me the story, but people don't. What's the story?
The story is the house was a school, and it was bought in 2014, and then converted over about 5 years. So yeah, that's. And kind of, it's still a bit of a work in progress, but it's been signed off, so it's officially finished.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, when I went to yours, it was definitely seems pretty finished. But as you know, like whenever you go to somebody else's, you're like, oh, they're all like, oh, it's not. It's always a work in progress, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. You see all the things that you need to do. It'll be the same with you with the museum.
Yeah. Except yours is a lot more done than the museum. But you there we go.
I need to come and visit. I was thinking of coming down. I'm supposed to be driving to Brighton, and I was thinking of maybe it's not exactly on the way, but I might try and visit and see the place for myself. I missed Dave Cranmer's party. Did you go? It was this weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, I forgot you were gonna go.
Yeah.
Where are you? Where were you?
Yeah, I've been busy, man. I've been busy. I couldn't do it.
That's fun. That's fair enough. It's a fair old trek as well from the depths of Scotland, the Scotland Highlands. Is it the Scotland Highlands?
Yeah.
Scotland Highlands.
Scottish Highlands.
Yeah. I don't want to say the wrong thing, and you're like, actually, it's the Scottish Hebrides. Well, that is the Scotland. What's the Outer Hebrides? Oh my god,
So that's the islands. So you've got the Highlands and Islands. So that the Hebrides are the islands, and I'm on the Highlands part. Although it does feel a little bit like an island.
It's where it kind of crosses off the Highlands.
Yeah.
Islands. Yeah.
Yeah, right on the border.
You were going to show us something to get.
Oh yeah, do you want to see what? Yeah. So I've been working on some stuff. You might quite like some of this stuff actually. This rotary speaker. Check what I've done to it. So I don't know if you can see. I've rehoused it. And I've given it like an aluminium plate, and its own little housing. And let's see if I can get it working.
Well, that's quite an old...
Yeah. It's not one of the sort of plasticky. I don't know what that material is, but it's not one of those.
Polystyrene.
Yeah. What kind have you got? What kind have you got on the Game Boy Mega machine?
Polystyrene ones, but so like they're really fragile, but that looks like a proper more chunky.
Yes, it's fairly durable. I still have managed to put my finger through the cone, so I've knackered the cone. I've certainly made it a bit fuzzier.
Well, so what does it do now then?
So the idea, I'm just waiting for this to boot up, but the idea is that I'm going to put these, these telephone pickups, these cheapy little telephone pickups that you can get. I'm going to put these arms on the side of it that will have like a kind of linear actuator. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
And the idea is that they'll bring up these telephone pickups, and let's see if we can get some sound out of it. And it'll sort of start playing. It'll be a kind of like self-playing instrument.
Yeah.
It's for an installation, but so you'll get like weird sounds like this.
Oh, Loman, it's the same things happened as Heimback last time, you know, when we had that gig and it just sounded like a
Oh, is it? Is it? Oh, has it done that thing?
yeah, it's done that thing. It just
the Heimback curse.
yeah, it's the Heimback Zoom curse.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, the description's probably plenty enough. But
yeah,
the idea is that it sort of self-plays, and it's
so
for yeah, it's sort of feedback. And then I thought about putting a clock on here as well, so like a little trigger, just so that it can clock whatever sound is being affected.
And let me guess, you're going to use the sensors from the I can't say it now. And I was going to say burglar alarms.
Burglar alarms.
Burglar alarms.
Yeah. I probably will use those. Yeah, I probably will use those or some kind of reed switch. But it's for an installation with some sound artists, and I think what they're going to do is have some beautiful choral music playing through it, and then the idea is that it starts to disintegrate. So the noises that these little telephone pickups will make will be quite drony and industrial. So it'll kind of start to disintegrate this beautiful choral music that they've prepared.
Yeah. Oh, awesome! So what is that? Is that a commission or is that something you're building for people?
It's actually a commission, but I thought it was going to be a fabrication job, but it's turned into just like, you just sort of come up with the ideas, which is quite good. You've got a bit of freedom to just kind of mess about and try and get things working. But this is just the R&D stage, so I think they're going to try and get some funding to actually make it, and make better versions. But I think that's okay. That's come out quite good, that one. I'm just going to paint it.
That looks like a done deal. That looks like a done awesome instrument, to be honest, doesn't it?
And then the reason I was asking you about those heat inserts is because I was going to have some kind of acrylic casing around the whole thing as well. Just because there's AC running through it, so I thought it might be a bit sketchy in the old installation world.
Wow. Because the motor's exposed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you seen my really crappy one that I made out of plastic? That Leslie Speaker guitar.
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, it's horrid. I don't think I could pick it up because I ordered the wrong plastic. I instead of ordering 2mm thick, I ordered 20mm thick. I was wondering why it was so expensive. And it's basically turned into a bulletproof Leslie Speaker guitar.
Amazing. I'm gonna have to check it out.
It's really crap. But like I did something as good as that.
I went through some of your videos because I've obviously seen a lot of your videos, but I went through last night to see if there's any that slipped through the net because you make so bloody many. And the one I found was the Roland GR500 synth guitar one.
That synth guitar's a beast. Yeah.
How are you getting on with it?
Oh, I say I haven't picked it up for a long while, and it's the kind of machine that I like so much that I didn't want to scratch it or anything, so I've put it in the loft until I need to use it again. Because it's a piece of art. It's better looking and made than it sounds. If you see what I mean.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah, the sounds were kind of naff. Although I did really like the infinite sustain. I thought that was incredible.
Yeah, it takes a bit of a knack to it to work. But I like the machine itself I'm gonna get that out again. I took it out because everywhere was so dusty and stuff, and I didn't. And the rest of everything else was all right getting dusty, but I just decided I didn't want to sell it, but I didn't want to damage it and use it and get it damaged.
So is that quite an old video then?
Oh, it was a couple of years, yeah.
Oh, was it really? Yeah.
I need to pull it out again. Got to pull it out again. Yeah.
Go. You
carry on. No, carry on.
All I was going to say was on that, when I watched it, the first thing I thought about was the synth axe, and I wondered if you'd ever seen one of those on your eBay adventures.
Synth axe.
Do you know the one that's it's like a guitar? It's a MIDI guitar, and then it's got angled strings at the bottom. Apparently, they were super rare because they sold for
I think it was like tens of thousands they were selling them for, the really high end MIDI synth controller guitar type things. But they didn't make many of them because nobody could afford them. So apparently now they're like rare as hen's teeth.
Are you talking about the step guitar or something?
No, it's just syntax. It's just I think it's just syntax, one word. They're really unusual because you see them, they run along a sort of line, and then at the very end it just shoots up at a 45-degree angle. And it's got like an extra set of strings for playing.
Yeah, I haven't got one of those. I've got a DG20, which is the Casio cheap version.
Oh yeah.
Very good when you plug it into MIDI because each string is a separate MIDI channel.
Which is cool,
quite interesting. But yeah, like Synfax. I built one time. I built a bass guitar with a SID chip. Actually, it's here. Ever see a bass?
Let's have a look.
That's got a SID chip, and it's absolutely dog crap. It's cool. The idea is cool, but it's just the technology to make it work was a bit naff.
Oh, nice.
Got a Commodore 64 chip.
Yeah.
So you play
chip,
that,
nice one.
and then it tracks it, but it tracks it relatively badly, and it just sounds like you're playing a guitar for a cheap fuzz pedal.
Yeah, I'll bet it does. When did you make it?
Oh, just about a couple of years ago. That one. It's funnily enough, right next to me. The chances of that. But yeah, always random machines, but never spend ages on them because this one was for a video. Obviously, I didn't really spend months on it. I only built it in I think it took about 2 weeks. So it wasn't built to last really, even though it does sort of stand the test of time.
Well, one of my questions for you actually was, what do you remember? What your first, maybe not your first build, but the first thing that you built that you thought, hey man, I really like this. This is quite exciting. This is something I want to do.
Yeah. Well, the first one, it was another guitar related one. I don't have it to hand, but it was I spent ages saving up for a Gibson Les Paul. It was like a secondhand Gibson Les Paul. I loved it, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna drill a load of holes in it and chisel out the back of it and put basically a light up MIDI keyboard into it. And that's the first bit that I did. I just took the insides out from another USB keyboard and just built a keyboard into it, and then I played it so much, and it was like my favorite thing, and that got me into it all. And I was, funnily enough, going to ask you the same thing. What was the first one that got you into it? Because that's,
well, it's funny you say that because I don't know if I'll be able to get it one-handed, but I'll see if I can find a guitar that I built. Where the hell would it be?
Another guitar. It's guitar related.
It's a guitar, yeah. I mean, I guess they're not that difficult to build, or modify. So it's quite a good starter project. But I built one in school when I was in like fourth year or fifth year, when I was like 16 or something like that. I'll see if I can find it. But I was I guess that was it. I got really into just building stuff after that.
So you built it from scratch, did you?
I built it from scratch. I didn't build the neck. I just took the neck off like some old cheap, knockoff Stratocaster or something like that. But I built the body
for GCSE or GCSE kind of era.
Yeah, I think something like that. I don't know what the equivalent is down south, but it was something like that. I think I was like 16 or something when I did it.
Yeah, I did a similar one, and it was really rubbish.
There was a guy in my class that made one at MDF.
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Yeah, he couldn't afford. They had like Marante and all this kind of like sort of second quality mahogany sort of stuff. That's what I used, and he couldn't afford it, the poor bugger. So he just made it out of MDF.
That's a shame.
It's a shame, but yeah, it was a very heavy guitar.
Yeah. Oh, solid MDF. Oh,
yes.
I built one out of a chest of drawers, I think, and I glued them.
Oh, did you?
Glued it all together. I can't remember. That must have been chipboard then.
Wow, a chipboard guitar.
Oh, it was crap. It was rubbish. I could. It sounds like yours is already way better than the one that I made.
This is it. I found it. Jesus, it looks like I've harvested loads of parts out of it.
Oh, that's
it had like It had a P90. Can you see it? It had a P90 pickup in it.
That's amazing.
And I managed to do all the binding and stuff like that.
Oh, that puts mine to complete shame. That is really good.
Do you like it?
Yeah,
Maybe I
it
should
looks like
donate it
quite
to the
nice.
museum. Maybe you could do something with it.
There's a couple. They've been sent a couple of their DIY ones. You should keep it in the loft. Keep it. But that actually brings it on to another question, though. You said that it's already been harvested for parts. I mean, I find myself, I don't do it as much now because I make a logical effort not to do it anymore. But when you build something and then you run out of something that you want to build something else for, so you nick a bit from something else with the intention at the time of replacing it so it isn't damaged, but you never do. Have you got machines like that where they've been pulled to pieces?
Yeah, I have. I have an added problem of living quite remotely, so if I order something, it I either get charged really like high postage or it takes weeks to get here. So I'm having a lot of trouble just now with this project because it's such a tight turnaround, and I have to really think ahead as to what components I'm going to need before I've even really figured out what the hell I'm doing. So there's been tons of harvesting going on and butchering.
Yeah. And with the intention of putting the bits back, or just knowing full well that you won't put them back.
Yeah, you know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the thing actually. So like with postage and stuff, and working with that in mind, and you've got something that you want to build, and you realize you haven't got a certain chip or something. That's a problem, is it?
Yeah, it can be a bit of an issue up here. But even things like I built this thing for this exhibition, which is like
Wow.
I think I'm going to turn it into like. You ever seen these pulse pendulums that use like an electromagnet, and it'll just energize the electromagnet once the pendulum gets to the bottom, and then it'll just push it round, and it can kind of go in a sort of perpetual motion fashion.
Yeah.
That's the idea with this, although it's made with a big heavy brass rod, so there's quite a lot of mass to it, so it'll be quite slow. And the idea was to turn it into like a sort of LFO, like a visual LFO kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I had to order a ton of metal, and I had a bad experience a while back where I ordered these, I think it was 3-meter lengths, or maybe it was 6-meter lengths. And what happens is in the Highlands, a courier like DHL, like a big courier company, will take it so far and then hand it off to like a smaller local courier. And then if it's too big, it just gets stuck in their warehouse, and they'll like refuse to bring it round to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I always get them to chop the metal up now, get everything chopped up into little small manageable parts so it doesn't end up stuck in some warehouse somewhere.
Yeah, because you are definitely out in the sticks. I mean, it's funny because you can see civilization from where you are, but it's on the other side of a big body of water.
It's just out of reach, man. It's just a little bit out of reach. But where do you get your components then? Because you must be constantly having to buy and replenish and find new bits.
It gets slower and slower when I find that, because I'm sure like you do as well. Whenever you buy parts, 9 times out of 10 you end up ordering maybe a bit more than you need.
Yeah, over ordering for sure.
So then, this is like the backdrop here. It's just full of the parts and stuff, and over time you end up with a big old stock of it. And sometimes when you're building synthesizers, like you do, they require a lot of very similar components. So just end up with that. Even the old ones, very similar components and stuff. So it goes like that. And I'm trying to get a bit more. Wood is a pain in the butt, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
How comes?
Sorry.
Where you are, it's hard to get wood.
Well, it's not impossible, but I wish I had a van instead of a Mini. But I don't know. I'm shooting myself in the foot right there. Yeah.
Well, actually, it's very easy up here because there's a lot of house building going on. So there's so many building merchants and timber merchants and stuff, and they all deliver. They'll do deliveries even around here, once, twice a week. So you can buy like huge, masses of ply and big 8x4 sheets of ply, 20 of them, and they'll just drop them off right outside the house. So it's not actually that big a deal around here.
Oh, that's good. Oh, well, maybe I need to look into that. I haven't even asked the timber merchants whether they deliver.
They
So,
probably will. They'll probably do it, man.
oh, I got one. I got one. Okay. This is one that I thought of what is my least favorite question to be asked in an interview
Oh, okay.
about like building machines and stuff. And it always gets asked and I never have an answer for it because I just don't know. And I'm asking you it now. What's your most favorite machine you've made?
Oh, that I've made.
Have an
Probably.
answer. Oh, you have an answer. Oh,
I mean, I don't. I would say it's probably my favorite, just in that I thought it worked quite well. That harmonograph
yeah.
synth machine. It was just really simple. It was just dead easy to make, and it was simple, and the electronics were simple, the coding was simple, and I just love it when things are really simple because it's pretty much all my brain can cope
And it
with.
really
So
works. Really works really well as well.
yeah, and if it works well and it's based on kind of simple concepts, then I think it's probably quite successful just as a project, you know.
Is that your simplest kind? Is that your most favorite types of machines? Are the ones where simple concepts that people could see what's going on, and then they make simple sounds, but the sounds in their own right are, quite complicated because they bounce off each other. I don't know. It's hard to describe. But a few of yours are like that.
I think sometimes if it's too like if it's too cerebral, like if a person has to just think a little bit too much about it, I kind of think you fail straight away, really, because I don't know. I feel like it just creates a barrier because you're already making quite esoteric, like weird things, right? And I think it's maybe just a bit of an ask. Like I'm not sure that unsung machine. I like it. I think it looks really nice, and I think it's going to be like eventually when I make an album, I think it's going to be quite a nice project. But everybody says to me, "How does it work?" And it kind of annoys me because I thought it was really simple, just that it was just a simple MIDI controller, but nobody seems to get it. And I think that's my fault. I think that's a failing on the project that people can't see the magic right away. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I see that. Somewhat. I can see in some of the things that I've made as well. That it's just trying to describe it. If it takes too long to describe and it still doesn't make sense, then maybe it's a bit too odd. But
Yeah.
I like the unsung machine because, but I can see its problems with how much of a challenge it might be to get the music out of it that is required, that you're hoping to get out of it. It's a challenge in itself because it doesn't just require the instrument, it requires the other stuff after it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it'll be so much time creating a setup that is engaging and like musically interesting. I mean, the stuff I've done so far is just kind of washy drone stuff. It's pretty easy to set that kind of thing up. But I was kind of wanting to do something far more interesting. So that's why it's taken time. But yeah, and then it takes a bit of explanation. And then, you know, you're kind of depending on all this other gear. So you really want to talk about that side of it as well. What's kind of hanging out the back of the unsung machine. Because I don't want to lie, you know, I don't want to deceive people and say, oh, I made this machine and it's making all these fantastic sounds. It's not, it's just a controller.
Yeah. But that's still like it's just the same as having, there's nothing different between it being a controller and putting a Raspberry Pi inside of it that makes the music as well.
True, that's true. Yeah, like, you could.
There's no difference, but conceptually there is a difference because the sound is actually coming out of the box instead of it being connected to another box.
There's something like it's as if it's more authentic if it does that. It doesn't make any sense, I know, but it feels like it would be a more authentic machine stroke project if it did that.
Because even if people knew that, like even if people knew that it was just something inside the box that is completely separate to it, it doesn't matter to a brain, does it? But I guess it's the same as like anything really. It's like you think about a car. It's just like a car is like it has its own personality, but in essence, it's just a bunch of parts bolted together. And you could say that's the same as a human as well.
Yeah,
and it's weird. It's the same. The unsung machines it's a human. It's a human.
it's certainly given me as much trouble as a human would.
Oh yeah. What is your favorite tool? Yeah, jump into a different one.
Oh, my favorite tool right now is my TIG welder, man. I'm
Oh
very
yeah,
into that. I love
yeah.
that.
Which TIG
What,
welder is it?
oh, it's an Artec. Um, I can't remember the model, but it's made by Artec, which I think is the British company, but it's sort of just import Chinese welders. But
Art A
Artec
R.
is really. Are you thinking of getting one?
Yeah, I've getting back after day Nervous Squirrels thing. Every year I come back and go, right, I gotta get into metalwork because I'm
Oh
just
man, it's so good.
really and like seeing Tim Hunkin and also Henry Dagg and Dave who are also all very big on metal fabrication stuff. It's just a skill set I haven't gained yet, and I really feel that it would unlock a lot of potential. Like when I see all of your machines and all of the metal framing and stuff, it's that's something that I really need to unlock.
Oh man, you should get it. You'd be really good at it, man. It's kind of there's something thrilling about it. It's quite difficult. Like it's not very forgiving. I think wood's way more forgiving, but
Yeah.
I just there's something about it. It's so satisfying and rewarding when you actually manage to do something. And the thing is, I when I first started, I was watching like this old Tony and stuff like that, and they made it look so easy in all these sort of like quite aggressive, manly American channels that had sort of like heavy rock guitar music. And I was watching all these channels, and they made it look so simple, and I just couldn't get the hang of it. But I was buying cheap, like very very thin, like square section, for example, like
Yeah.
0.88 mil. And as soon as you start to try and weld it, you just blow through it, and it's just a total nightmare. And then if you just go up to like 2 mil, then straight away it becomes so much easier. But
Oh yeah.
because I was always on like such a low budget, I was buying the cheap ass metal, the absolute cheapest stuff I could get, and it was
Yeah.
just so frustrating.
Interesting. Yeah, I tell you another thing as well. It's quite like, do you think that because you always check it comments on welding videos and stuff, welding people who comment on welding things are just so unrelentlessly just not very nice.
They're horrible.
No, I've never seen it's not like there's people who I don't know, you get hate on YouTube, I get hate on YouTube every so often, don't you? Like the comments and stuff. Some of them can be nasty, but nothing like what you see on welding.
I haven't posted anything. I mean, you get that whole like, welders of Instagram and all that shit, and it's like, I think that stacking dimes. Check this, I've stacked my dimes. When like the weld puddle looks really nice,
Oh
but
yeah.
like my stuff is absolutely horrendous. I'm happy if it just sticks together.
Yeah,
I don't
but
care what it looks like.
it does the job. And the other thing is though, is whenever you see a weld that looks good, I always try to look in the comments and see but there's still somebody who thinks it's a pile of crap.
Yeah, I know.
What's
I
up
know.
with
It's
that?
very. I don't know. I think it's just a very manly, unfortunately, a really kind of manly world, and they're all just big. They seem to be big bruisers, and they obviously have a lot of insecurity, and they kind of
Yeah,
make up for it through bragging about welding.
yeah, definitely a $25 an hour kind of guy or something. So when they rate like the pound money, it's funny, but it slightly put me off it because I thought, oh no, I'm not going to be good for a while, but I don't need to show them it.
No, no, no. It's so much fun, man. The only thing I would say about it is that it's quite expensive. Like if you're gonna get a TIG welder, for example, which I think is the sort of most elegant,
Is that the one to go?
skillful. I think so. I really like it. Yeah, but you have to get argon. You have to buy argon, which
Oh,
is
so
like
yeah,
expensive, and all the consumables are quite expensive. What's that you've got?
got just a gasless MIG one, but it's not that good. I've only
Have you?
used it to fix a bit of rust on a car before. So
Oh yeah, I mean it'd be amazing for maybe not for your plastic fantastic machine, but it'd be
no,
amazing for your ventures into
oh,
auto mechanics.
yeah, but maybe I'll get I might look into the. Yeah, I just need to figure it out. And here's a question, actually. Here we go. The before I die machine. Like I've got to build this before I die. It might be quite an elaborate one, but the one before I conk it, I want to build this.
I don't know. I was thinking about. Uh, do you know like what are they called? Is it Dioramas. You know that that sort of Tim Hunkin sort of style thing.
Yeah. So
I was wanting to.
Yeah.
On you go.
No, yeah, I was asking. I was going, oh.
All I was going to say is I quite fancy building. Well, I see it as an album, but it probably won't be much of an album. Basically, a story told through dioramas, and it's inspired by, like, when I was a kid, we used to always go down to like Skegness and Scarborough. We were talking about it when you were here. We used to go to Scarborough a lot on holiday, and they had these things. It was always like kind of, it seemed to be like horror tales, you know. And you would put your money in it. It would just do like a crappy little scene from a haunted house or something. But I thought it was amazing. And I always wanted to do like quite an elaborate one, like quite a big one that almost told an entire story, like a small film or something like that, with music and dialogue and stuff. But it seems like such a massive undertaking that I don't know if I'll ever get to do it.
Don't see why not. I mean, just got to start it. I guess there will be elements of the as it's moving, those parts of the machines might also be doing the music as well.
Yeah,
musical aspect to it.
That's what I thought. Yeah, just kind of, I guess like a film, like a sort of like a live action film score done on machines. Just thought that would be quite a nice thing to deal with the idea of an album, but in a physical sense, you know.
So the machine is the album.
Effectively, yeah, yeah. What about you? Have you ever? What's your machine that you're just dying to make before you die?
Well, it's always those ones you joke about. And then, actually, funnily enough, no, I didn't think about. I've been thinking about it recently because I've had to start thinking about it, because I think if I never make the action to make it happen, because there's a few steps to what I want to do, it'll never happen. And that is, I want to build a plane.
Jesus.
But in order to build a plane, I need to get into that kind of world, and I need to learn how to fly. And it's so expensive, so I don't know how I'm gonna try and figure it out. But yeah, I've got to learn how to fly, and then I think I really wanted to build a replica of a Lancaster, but that's just impossibly hard and big.
Wow.
So I'll settle for a Spitfire.
Do you know it? Has anybody ever done it? Is there any examples of people that have done it?
Yeah, there are. And they all look a bit like they're, like retired guys who've just gone, I'm going to build a Spitfire or something like that. Yeah. There are a few, and they look a bit like kit car kind of jobbies, but still, that's something I want to do before I conk it. That'll be. But now you're saying about a diorama, I want to do that instead.
Well, let's do it. We'll half the workload. We'll get let's get Nervous Squirrel involved and Tim Hunkins as well. We could just all do like one scene each and just put it all together as a big machine. Yeah.
Oh, that would be like I can't remember where I was talking to you about this or something. I was like, where you build a machine or a robot. Do you remember that game at the pub where you used to just draw like a quarter of a
Consequences?
Body? Is that what you were talking to me about? What's
I think consequences is when you draw like part of a body or something like that and then fold it over so that the person next only sees a couple of lines, and then they've got to draw the next bit.
Yeah. Were you talking about that? Were you talking about that?
I can't remember. I mean, we were having a fair old chat that night, but possibly. So what, you would basically just leave some connectors, a few notes, like here's the voltage, here's what's coming in here, here's what's going out there.
Yeah, well, it doesn't even be that, like we just agree on a certain length or height or part, and then with the connectors, like universal connectors and width stuff, like you're saying, and then just try and build something. But it could even work as a musical instrument. Maybe was it you we were talking about that?
I can't remember. I mean, we were having a right old chat, but I don't know. Maybe.
Consequences. I haven't heard the name consequences before, but I've heard, like, whatever. You make a scary robot person.
Well, I love the idea. I was gonna ask you something, because there's always a bit of a balancing act between doing music and building things. if I know that you've done a lot of music in the past, you've got a long history with it. If I know this sort of thing doesn't happen anymore, but if some guy was to come along and be like, "Hey, Sammy, this new album of yours is gonna make $1 million," and he was like, "This is it. You've got a music career ahead of you." Would you actually want that? Because it would be very prohibitive on your tinkering side.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think that's weird. I mean, it wouldn't happen for starters for now. And I don't like I don't think so. Like I quite like the ability to bounce between jobs.
Yeah.
And I think doing one. Do you agree with that? What happens with the same?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, it's never going to happen. It's certainly never going to happen to me. But I think I would struggle with it because I do like to be at home. I do like to be in amongst it all, and kind of like if you have an idea, just to be able to get up and start to prototype it or deal with that thought, that idea straight away. And I think anytime I've not done tons of touring, but anytime I've done it, it's just a whole load of waiting around, man.
Yeah, that's my issue with I like whilst I like playing shows, I love doing it every so often. I like variety, and I find that I've got a couple of friends who do a lot of touring, and whilst it is perfect for them, they are the kind of person who is built for touring. I'm not.
Yeah.
It feels like to me, it's a little bit like going and playing a gig after a gig after a gig. It just I don't know. It's not my jam.
I think I agree totally. I like the act. I like doing the gig, but it's all the lead up and the waiting around. Hurry up, hurry up and wait. That sort of thing. Like you have to be here on time, and then we're going to make you wait for 5 hours. I hate all that.
And I find it very hard to do something creative in the waiting personally.
Yeah.
You could, but that's why I couldn't get it to work. So yeah, I like the creative aspect of things, not the repeating parts. But even though playing the gig is fun, like the act of doing the gig, but just everything around it can be quite a lot. So
do you do it? Do you do it often?
Yeah. Well, not often, but I do it. I'm trying to do it more now. Like I've got a tour planned I think it's in Europe in the March, but that's like that's 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so, and that'll be one of those kind of a year kind of thing, and then that's it. It kind of ticks that box of going to do that for a bit, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Do it any more than that? Nah, no siree.
Could you? What? I mean, I've done like probably about the same 2-3 week long tours, and that's probably about it. I've not really done anything massive, but yeah, it's just the waiting about. I can't be creative. I can't even if you take a sketchbook, it just doesn't. I can't do it that way. I've got to be right in amongst it all, and kind of got to be in the workshop if that's what I want to do, or be in my studio if I want to do music. I've never been very good at writing music on the hoof or anything,
Another one, one of the tours I did a couple of years ago, I tried to make an instrument at every town that I played. So I went to a charity shop, found a machine, and tried to modify it into an instrument to play, and it just broke me because it's just like the amount of effort to do that on top of doing a tour. It was just I was hoping I was going to find a way of making that a sustainable way of making videos and challenges and stuff, shooting it as well.
I mean,
nightmare.
It's a great idea, but yeah, the amount of stamina you'd need for that is, I think that would be challenging even for you.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah. I got a few. I think 3 or 4 of them built, but they're fine if they work first time, but they don't, do they?
Of course.
What have I done? Why is the Arduino not talking to the random German toy things like that? And then you sat there scratching your head. Nightmare.
Have you obviously used a lot of? Do you use all DIY equipment when you play live?
No, I've got a Korg MS-10, and also it gets all plugged into a digital mixer. But apart from that, it's the DIY synthesizers. Yeah,
it's the Cosmos synth. Yeah. So, have you had any absolute disasters where it's just dead, and that's it?
I would only class absolute disasters as a complete failure that is not repairable to make any sound. For instance, like let's say the mixer doesn't work or something. I class that as a complete failure. That hasn't happened before, but things have broken to the point where I cannot continue what I was planning, and then the gig turns into a bit more of a stand-up act, stand-up trying to have about it all going wrong, and just live trying to fix it. And
I think
got practiced at it to the point that people commented. Oh, sorry, carry on.
No, all I was going to say was I could imagine that really working for you, actually. Does it turn into a sort of impromptu masterclass in how to get out of a jam?
Yeah, people say like you've planned that, haven't you? But the reality is that there was a point where my synth was a little bit too ropey, that it didn't work to the point that I was very practiced at it not working, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It got a lot rarer and rarer when I was properly making the synth.
Have you ever on that subject, have you ever had a monumental electric shock? Obviously you're still here to tell the story, but have you ever had an absolute beastie?
I've had a couple, but I think the worst one was just touching a blooming. I think it was just a transformer in a radio that was probably going to. I don't know what it was boosting up to, but it was a lot more, and it was very horrid. I was very young and pretty stupid. Have you had one?
I used to have this crappy PA system. I used to play in a band when I was in my late teens, and we had this really naff PA system that we took around with us, and I had to fix it all the time. And I was in about the back, and I just touched mains, and my hands, when your hand starts to kind of curl around it a bit, I was doing that, and I was like, oh God, I'm going to get stuck. And it was an absolute, and then I thought my friend was standing behind me. I thought he'd punched me in the back, but he hadn't even touched me. It was just one of those really bad shocks.
Oh God. Did you get off it? Wow,
I got off it. Yeah, I got off it. But I haven't, not really. I mean, not really. I've not had any, not since then, actually. Nothing.
It's about being careful, I guess. You end up getting careful, I guess. What is a machine that has drove? I'm trying to read my questions. Machine that drove you the most to despair.
Oh man, they all do. They all do at the time. I mean, this one is doing my head, and this thing here's doing my head. This LFO thing's doing my nut.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. I mean, I've not. Well, because I've chosen this fucking stupid. I've chosen this. This is like 10mm square bar. It's beautiful stuff. It's very elegant. Looks lovely, but I don't know if you can see. There's a lot of flex. Do you see that?
Oh, because. Oh shit! Yeah.
So that bar, because it's got little magnets in the end, it's got like a little sort of end plug that I 3D printed, and it's got a whole bunch of neodymium magnets up here, and that needs to, when it comes down, it needs to be right over the electromagnet. It needs to be right on the path of it. Can you see all that?
Yeah.
It needs to be right on the path of that electromagnet, and because it's got so much flex in the bloody thing, it's just wobbling about all over the place. So I don't know. I don't want to give in because I like how elegant it looks, but I think I might have to rebuild the whole thing with like square section or something a bit more chunky and industrial, which is really annoying. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, you know what it's like. It's just constant. You're just constantly putting out fires. It's just problem after problem after problem.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. I guess they're all machines. Like you're right. It's putting out fires. I think. Well, the one I think is I built this one. I still haven't finished that. I really need to finish it. And it's the Game Boy Mega Machine. I think when you design something in your head, you don't really think about how difficult to use it's going to be. Maybe.
Yeah. And
that kind of ruins the whole project because, I'm only halfway through that machine, and it's probably going to take another. Oh, I don't know how many hours, 200, 300 hours more. And I don't really want to because it's really shit to use because it's just so complicated.
Is it? I have to say I loved that machine when you were building that. I followed that quite closely because I just thought it was such a brilliant project. And I was really excited to see. I kind of thought it was finished because it looks finished in the museum.
Well, yeah, it sort of is, but there's 3 voices in the first box, which has got 3 rows of 8 Game Boys, and then there's another 3 voices which are just not finished because I basically built the 3 voices that work out of all of the Game Boy modules that worked out of all of them. So the top one's full of the ones that I need to fix certain parts. It's just
Right.
so monotonous. It drives me to despair. But I will finish it one day. In fact, maybe I'll start it. Maybe I'll start it now. You just got to. That's the other thing. Is there things that you procrastinate from that you know that you really need to get on with machine wise?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I just think it never stops. Like right now, I'm trying to build these two. This is like I've got to have these. Well, I don't have to have them finished, but I'd like to have them finished in 2 weeks. And I've only been working on it for about 2, so it'll be a month. And I'm trying to build. I had this idea. I don't know if you can see this, but I had this idea to build like a sort of looping tape system that on springs, so that it encourages, yeah, exactly, wow and flutter. So it just kind of you kind of get that kind of weird wobbly. And I was gonna somewhat inspired by some of your machines actually. I was gonna build like a big bank of them. I've got like tons of these old data sets. And I was just gonna hack them all up and just use the kind of skeletal mechanisms. Just have like, well, I think I've got about 20 of them, so like a bank of 20. But yeah, I don't know. It's just there's so many bloody issues in my head, with the build already, and I've not even started it. I've just built a tiny little kind of maquette kind of thing. But yeah, total nightmare.
That's really cool, though. That's the funny thing is like when you see machines on the outside. Yeah. I guess you don't really empathize with even build people, other builders that look onto it don't really. It's somewhat impossible to empathize with the problems to the point that you ask yourself like, why are they not putting going the extra mile in that? But they don't. You're not fully in sync with the problems that the builder has with it.
Yeah, totally.
Somewhat.
I don't think people really get what. That's why I'm always amazed at you, because I cannot believe how prolific you are. Like, I just think, how are you? Where are you? How are you managing that?
I don't think I'm that prolific. That's the thing. So
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It might be a game of illusion. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think you are pretty prolific, but I think when people get in touch with me and they're like, oh, could you build this machine, or could you do? It doesn't happen that often, but when it does happen, I don't know if people realize exactly what's all involved, because there's so many elements, especially if it's going to make sound. You've got to think about what's it going to sound like. Is it going to be musical, or is it just going to be noise, or is it going to be somewhere in between? There's design elements. There's so many engineering things that, like, I'm a hobbyist, so like I can't get my head around even the simplest things a lot of the time. But you got to try. You got to try and find the solutions. Yeah. And then there's manufacturing. There's finish. There's just so much involved in making things.
And there's also there's another thing, and that's sometimes the chance that it doesn't work out the way that you're expecting, and it's. There's always that worry, and I guess that's a larger worry if you're building it for somebody else. Is the idea that they have or something that's been figured out doesn't work out to be quite as musical or as good as initially anticipated,
or it might just not work at all. I mean, a lot of the time you're just you're sort of building systems, you're inventing the system. It's kind of uncharted territory somewhat. Although you can always find somebody that's done something similar. Do you, if you ever have a kind of failure that way, do you think it's a complete waste of time, or do you feel like it's actually quite valuable because you learn quite a lot? I'd say you learn more from failures personally, but how do you feel?
But there's sometimes I find it rare that I feel that I look back at something that I've made and I've like gone off completely wasted my time. I think it's only happened a couple of times. One time was a big speaker that was wired to a bunch of springs, and it just didn't sound like what I wanted it to, and I didn't learn anything, and it was just like a waste of time. Like, I don't know why it didn't work, but I just was like, I could make a Mark II, but I don't think I will. I've just wasted 2 weeks trying to build a springy speaker. Like, I just felt like really naff, but it's rare that happens, I think, where it's just completely a damn, that really didn't work.
Often there'll be an element of it you can take onto another project. I find a lot of the time when I'm building stuff, that's when you have the ideas for the next thing.
Oh yeah. You go off on another one, but that was just an all no, nothing gained.
Did you make a video about that one?
No, that was the other thing. It was not even rubbish enough to not do a video. It was just it was in the uncanny valley of it just being just a bit crap. I never put it out, kind of thing. But I don't even know where that footage is. That's a shame. So yeah, it happens. What the thing is, you've got to treat every problem as an opportunity for some reason or element. Any challenges, there's always a way of turning it around. That's the way I look at things, I guess.
Do you ever see the museum being open full time? I know you just do weekends just now, don't you?
Yeah, it's just weekends. I don't know. I just I have a big problem, and that is the fact that I'm a person that makes things and stuff like that, and I'm not very good at the organizational side of things. So I don't know. It's right at the cusp of my abilities of organization, and weekends are it's just manageable. But I'm trying to build, make it work more and build it into something more. It's just I feel that when you haven't got those skill sets quite yet, it takes a little bit of time. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, sure. No, I understand, and I guess you don't want it encroaching on your own time to sort of create and develop stuff and be creative
and fill it in. Yeah, that's a risk. Yeah, but there's also, I always find that, like, I think it's the most sustainable right now. It's very sustainable, and there's no risk of it, tripping over from spiraling costs and spiraling commitments and people, and there's a chance that it could get to the point where it could implode, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. I guess you don't want to overcomplicate it. If it's working nicely for you, don't tip the.
But who knows? Boat. Let's see how it goes. Like, it's always a work in progress. It's only been open for a year and a half so far, so maybe a little bit longer, something like that.
And one other thing I was going to ask you is, are you ever able to find the willpower to say no to like? I guess if you see things online, you think, oh, I've got to have that, or that would be brilliant. Or if I have a bit of a problem where people know that I like to tinker with old stuff. So people often give me things, or like they'll tell me about a clear out. And even if it's going to be rubbish, I'll still take it. And then I'm stuck with it all, and then I feel bad about getting rid of it. So I just end up with all this junk.
Well, it's for starters, it's a good problem to have, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's quite nice to be known as the sort of the Womble,
The Womble. Yeah, we're at the museum, like, we get offered a lot of interesting items, and the space is quite a premium right now, especially in the storage and stuff. So I've personally got better to say. Thank you very much for the offer of whatever it was, but it's not exactly what we're looking for, or we have a few of them already, and then I suggest other means of passing them on, if you see what I mean. But it's a good problem to have. If I, it's very cool to, like, get to a point where it managed to snowball enough that people, and in fact, sometimes things turn up without asking, which is a bit crazy, because sometimes it's a little bit like, oh no, they've literally just cleared out their cable drawer and just posted it. That's a bit like, oh no, what am I going to do with this, kind of thing.
Unwanted donations. Yeah, that's sometimes not great.
It can be, yeah, through the PO box, but it's just, it is what it is. But I do find it difficult to say. Actually, no, I've got better at it, because sometimes I say yes to things and find myself too busy to do what I actually do. I find that's a problem. There was a point in time where I really was, but not envious, but yeah, somewhat evident. I was like seeing people who were busy, and I was like, I wish I was busy. But in reality, if you're busy, you don't have any time to come up with ideas.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's true. And like, a lot of the time, it's just that thing of like trying to get the balance of money coming in. Like, I find I do quite a lot of production work, and like, it's good, but you're kind of servicing other people's ideas. and it's taking up your time for doing stuff like this. I mean, this is perfect. This kind of thing just now, like just having time to play around and try things out, and if it goes wrong, it doesn't matter, and you can just take that work into the next stage. But yeah, I totally agree, man. Yeah, it's really easy to get caught in that sort of cycle of servicing, fulfilling other people's needs.
Yeah, like yeah. If you could get into a position like, I don't know. For me, for songwriting, for instance, if I just sat down and just gone, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, and I did that for a little while, and like, you know, I would potentially have, you know, more. I would have live a more comfortable life, you know, but financially, but what means, you know?
Yeah,
I don't feel like I would have. I'd look back and go, oh, I didn't build those machines that I wanted to build.
yeah, or open a museum.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like it was a real stretch to sort that thing out and to sort the museum out, and you know, it's just I'm very pleased about it. Just able to get to that point to open a bleeding museum. It's just mad, absolutely mad.
Well, congratulations, man. Well done on that.
Yeah, cheers.
I really must. I must come down and see it. So it's definitely on my list. I want to go and see Dave. I want to go and see his place, and then I'd love to come and see your place as well. So maybe this Brighton trip, if you're around, maybe we can make it happen. I'll see.
Yeah. If it's not in open times, then that's possible as well. Just let us know. And also there's in October we're taking a bunch of the walls down to try and make it bigger. So they're all plasterboard walls, so it's fine. It's not like there's no load bearing. The load, we know where all of that is. So trying to make it a little bit larger because it's just need more space for people, because there's been a few times when we've had to limit it to one in, one out. So we've got to.
Oh really? Oh, that's amazing, man.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy summer, to be honest, for the museum.
And do you have helpers? Do you have people sort of staffing it, or?
Yeah. There's two people who come nearly every day, every open day, and then there's there's a few volunteers who like popping over and fixing things and stuff, and which is very nice of them. They make sure that things that are broken down or things that people have broken are still working.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, and I guess they'll get quite a lot out of that as well. Just the opportunity to get access to this stuff, like all your sort of archaic telecom systems and whatnot. All that stuff's amazing. Like, you know, when would you ever get a chance to tinker on something like that?
Yeah. They get that, and they also get like there's always they get first dibs on the free pile, and bring a load of other machines over, because there's other people that have more different skills to each of them. So I think they found themselves a bit of a friend base who they can try and get, you know, they can't fix this certain part of a computer, so they bring it in and the other person fixes it and whatnot. So, you know, as long as sometimes some of the museum stuff gets fixed, it's no complaints here.
Have you ever heard of Forgotten Futures? The guy Wally DeBacker, who's doing, he's sort of got really into the Jenny Ondioline. You know, that old kind of proto mono synth that was from like 1937. It's like an old Valve mono synth.
Where is Forgotten Futures? It rings a bell. Oh,
it's in Brooklyn.
That's Goat, yeah, isn't it?
Goat, yeah. Wally DeBacker,
yeah. Willie, yeah.
He's doing a similar thing. So like he's kind of set up a little, I guess it's like a little workshop stroke museum. I don't know how open it is to the public, but he's just really into the Jenny Ondioline, and he's got like a bunch of folk who fix them up, and they try and find them whenever they come up for sale. They try and grab them and then fix them up and renovate them and recondition them and stuff. So it's similar.
Ondioline, yeah, those are interesting machines. When we were at the Nervous Squirrels, there was a guy who plays theremin, Charlie, and he had a Ondes Martin knot. I don't know how you pronounce
it. Yeah, they're cool, man. Okay. Yeah.
But for some reason in my head I thought they were the same, but I'm just looking at the Ondioline and it's different.
I think are they kind of the same? Are they both sort of ribbon controller type?
Yeah, there's a ribbon controller on the front.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wasn't aware of that.
You should check out that Jenny Ondealing, man. Some of the sounds, there's like loads of little demos on YouTube of this guy, Jean-Jacques Perry, who was like
Yeah.
he was like the sort of brand ambassador of them. And there's loads of little demos of him, you know, like a flautist will walk on and do like a little riff on the flute, and then he'll like program a little flute sound and play it, and it sounds amazing.
Oh, like a flute off. It's like skate, but for on. That's a longer
Yeah.
version of skate. It's like ONDIOLINE. Is there any? I'm trying to figure out a gauge of like how much they cost.
I don't know, man. I guess it's just that thing. They'll be rare, you know. It's just whether you can find them, whether they come up on the market very often.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's one that went for $25,000.
Really?
Yeah. And that's in an unknown condition.
Oh, you could have got a Synthax for that, man.
Oh God. I think I prefer the Obsolete if I'm honest, but still. I don't know which one. Would you have a Synthax or an Ondealine?
I'd probably go for an Ondealine. I do think those Synthaxes look amazing, but
Yeah.
I'd probably go for an Ondealine.
You reckon? Yeah.
I think so. Well, Sam, thanks very much for taking time out to ask those lovely and sometimes quite challenging questions about me and my work. And it was lovely to see you.
Well, likewise, Loman. It's been a very interesting talk. There was lots of things that made me question. I'm going to leave more fulfilled than I came.
Wow. What more can you ask for, eh?
That came out very wrong. Yeah. That's can we do that again?
That's perfect. You're fulfilled.
Yeah, I am fulfilled.
Even more so.
It was awesome.
Take care, Sam. All the best, man.